kind of in that vein, but not really. More of a micro thing here. But back to Hurts. Um, they does he? I feel like when I'm watching the press conferences that you guys have with him, I feel like sometimes he doesn't. Um, does he? Is he not understanding like
Doesn't
completely
play
what?
the game.
Well, it's like it's not that even that he doesn't play the game, but I feel like sometimes I think he's so defensive because he came from the Nick Saban school of like everybody in the media is an asshole, right? So he's like really skeptical of you guys from the jump. But I think like 99% of the stuff that's asked to him is fair. I just think he's like looking at it in a way and say like, hey, this guy's like trying to pull something out of me.
Right.
But I don't think that's the case. I feel like there's like a little bit of disconnect between the group of you guys and him. Is that a legit observation?
Legit observation. I think you can Google this. It's like Jalen Hurts shuts down reporter trying to create controversy. Some kind of, it has like a couple, like 500,000 views or something.
Yeah.
And the
Is
context
that
there
the
was,
thing from a couple weeks ago with
yeah,
the
it
okay,
was
all right,
It was
yeah.
Bo Wolf, who was like jokingly, and if you know Bo, obviously if you don't know Bo, maybe you could lose the context there. But if you know Bo, like he just made a little joke.
Ever tease you and say that he's jealous that you call AJ your best friend?
Nah, so don't even start that.
But it wasn't even like with a laugh. He was like, it seemed
Like he
like
was serious, like he thought
Shot
like,
daggers at him.
Yeah. And so yeah, he definitely and there have been other examples of that in the past where someone would ask like a relatively like benign question and he'd be like, why are you asking that? And it's like, well, I don't know, it's like kind of a straightforward question. So yeah, I think that's kind of him.
Yeah, it's interesting too because I think that like the fanboy, like there's a kind of a generally specific like just anti-media thing that exists out there in general too. It's a little trendy where they think we're all out to get somebody or we're all like trying to like look for a quote or some shit. It's
Looking
not
for
not
clicks.
that. Yeah, you're looking for clicks. I'm like, it's a tweet, man. There's nothing to click on. Like, what are you talking about? So beyond that, like the interpretation of that stuff, I think that people are picking sides and choosing sides. They love the quarterback. The media by default is always going to be like anti-quarterback stuff.
Sure.
I think you can't change people's minds a lot of the time, but it would be cool to see him do a little bit more of what he did last year. I think Jeff asked him that question about, you remember that big whole controversial thing where the guy was wide open in the end zone? And he gave this like super detailed thing. He's like, well, I went through read 1 and 2. I had 2 brackets on the outside, saw a safety moving this way. And whatever, I gave him like the most perfect, like the most detailed thing I've ever heard from him. And I'm like, okay, there's something in there.
Yeah.
Like, I know he will talk about this stuff, but maybe, he's just skeptical, or maybe he hasn't gotten to meet, a lot of the guys in the beat or get to know people and trust people. So I just find that an interesting kind of subplot,
I think that's a fair point. And yeah, it would be nice to see that a little bit more. I will say to to Hurts's favor, watching him in his press conference after losses sometimes, like I get why dudes like, rally around him and like him so much. Like I feel like inspired by him sometimes. Like they had like a tough loss and he'd be like, we're gonna get it fixed. And obviously that's something that a lot of athletes say, but like just the tone and the vibe he comes with and the way he carries himself, like I believe him. Like it's believable more so with him than it is with someone other quarterback just like giving you lip service. So there is something to that. And that's why that is tough because like, for all the criticism I have about Jalen Hurts, I by no means hate him or anything. Like I think he's extremely likable, but I just don't think he's good enough. Like that's the difference.
Yeah. You're trying to like draw that line there. Like, it's not a personal thing, man. It's just you're trying to call it how it is, I think sometimes when you try to walk it down the middle, like sometimes fans don't necessarily understand that. You think you're being critical. And I'm like, no, it's not really it, man. I'm just trying to like, be objective here.